day today, Bob?
It's day number 4. And we're very happy, honestly. Actually, it's been a morning of catastrophes, cataclysms and all of that stuff. But kind of kicked off with discovering our beautiful and wonderful, precious little pussycat had decided to pee in the aft cabin. And it's not a good thing when that happens. Those of you that are cat lovers will know that the smell of cat wee is pungent, aromatic, and far divorced from being delightful. It's goddamn ratbag. He's peed on one of our wonderful cockpit seats, and he's peed on one of our bunk cushions in the aft cabin. So that means those things are no longer any good to us, because it is just impossible to get the smell of cat wee out of foam rubber. It just doesn't happen. So those things sadly are going to have to go. Along with the cat, if he's not careful. If he does it again. He peed in the bilge once before and he very nearly was a goner. Anyway, so we spent a fun-filled hour or so trying to resolve that problem. Didn't work, so as I said, those things have got to go. But the good news is, over the last 27.5 hours, missed out on the midday log, we covered, on the GPS, we covered 111 nautical miles. But actually, weirdly, on the chart, we have covered 120. So I'll take the chart as being gospel, because that's your plotted position, so what you actually did across the planet Earth. So we did 120 nautical miles. For us, that's pretty good, and it's been pretty much a beat all the way. Certainly a very, very fine reach, if not a beat. And right at the moment, we are beating. We're as hard on the wind as we can go. The wind had gone round somewhat towards the northeast, which forces us west of north, and so that's a bit of a pain in the arse. Basically takes us a little bit away from our destination, but nevertheless making good northing. Spoke to our weather people this morning, and they gave us very good advice. Continue north, don't be tempted to tack around, because on the other tack we would actually be going more directly towards the English Channel. Not directly towards it, but we'll be making better ground towards it. But then you give up the possibility of encountering good westerly, southwesterly breeze once you cross 45 to 48 degrees north. So their best advice is to plough on north, even with a tiny bit of west in it. Excuse me. And then we'll catch fairer wind a little bit later on. In actual fact, over the last 27.5 hours, we made good 005 degrees true, so very slightly towards the English Channel, so it's good news. Good northing, 120 miles of northing, and a little bit towards the English Channel. So what other catastrophes do we have? Well, they're actually minor things, but they seem like catastrophes at the time, because you're tired, a little bit anxious because we've had this hurricane behind us out in the middle of the Atlantic somewhere, not quite sure what it was doing. I smelt the cat pee, and then I smelt diesel fumes. And when you smell diesel fumes, you immediately understand why it is that if you spend any time below, you get a headache. Diesel fumes give you one hellish of a headache, can be a blinding headache actually. And sure as eggs is eggs, I took the engine cover off, and there's diesel in the bilge of the engine room. So not very much of it, but some. And I very quickly, fortunately, managed to trace the diesel leak to an isolating valve which had been engineered in for us back in the British Virgin Islands by some wonderful engineers who did all kinds of cunning stuff. Put a Raycor fuel filter in for us and did a bunch of electronic works. However, they didn't tighten properly the gold darn attachment where this fuel isolating valve is. So rather than try and take it all off, which would be very, very difficult, because the leak is actually from the tank side of the isolating valve. The isolating valve isolates the tank from the rest of the system, so you can play with the rest of the system without having diesel fuel spurting everywhere. But it's on the tank side, so there's no way of isolating it, so you'd have to take it off, you'd have diesel everywhere, you have to keep your finger on the hole while you try to resolve the problem, and then your finger comes off and there's diesel everywhere. So I cleaned it all up, and I used some of that magic tape stuff, you know, the elasticated amalgamating kind of tape, and it looks like it's probably done the trick. It's a temporary affair, but we would fix it when we're back in port, not try and fix it at sea. So it looks like that's done. Then scrub the bilge out with soap suds and washed it through a little bit. So hopefully that's dealt with that. And then decided to take another reef in the main, and in doing that noticed, golly gosh, that one of the hanks is missing. Okay, that happens occasionally, but then a further look, brought it down and then fixed it and temporary fix on it and put it back up again. And on the way back up it fouled on the lazy jacks, and I grunted it a little bit, thinking it's just a little bit of resistance to overcome, but that little bit of grunt burst the top two hanks on the sail as well. So dropped it down again and then realised there's actually another hank needs replacing. So I've actually replaced 4 mainsail hanks this morning, and it's been a bit lumpy and been feeling just a little bit seasick with the cat pee and the diesel fumes and the rock and roll. So it all became a little bit overwhelming. But that's okay, all that is done now. So if you smell diesel, make sure you do something about it, because we've had a little bit of a fresh water leak in our fresh water system, and I suspect there's been just a little bit of diesel gently dripping into that, and we're wondering why we constantly get headaches down below. It's probably because there's been a little bit of diesel mixed in with that. Not strong enough for you to smell very much, but enough to give you a headache. Anyway, now we have that done, so all is good. The weather remains a little bit lumpy. We're doing a steady sort of 4.5 knots into it, making steady progress north. We're kind of happy. Nikki baked some muffins, some gluten-free muffins, and I had one earlier and it was delicious, and I'm about to have another one. A little bit of honey and a little bit of fresh butter. Nice. Anything to add, my darling?
What about the leak in the headlining?
Oh yeah, we got another leak. The leak is in the headlining, which put about that much water down into the bilge. Tried to sponge out as well today. Not sure where that's coming from. I think probably from one of the dorade boxes forward. They're mushroom dorades, they're deck mounted on a flush deck, and the little lip they've got, even though they've got a nice dorade box around, the little lip isn't enough. And we closed them down, but there's still a little bit of leak coming in there somewhere. So it's been a leaky boat today. Generally, Koru is a very, very dry boat down below. This last period she's been just a little bit dribbly. So we've got to get to grips with all of that, and I suspect put a dorade box with a dorade box on top of that, just to get a bit of elevation off the deck. That's a fix for when we're in port. When we're in port.
She's just getting to be a dribbly old girl.
She's getting to be a dribbly old girl. A dribbly old veteran of the high seas. She's 20 years old. 21 years old actually, so she's doing alright. Very, very dry boat down below, I'm pleased to say. The wettest thing down below, generally speaking, has been the cat peeing on the bunks and peeing in the bilge. So Mr. Bigglesworth may be retired to a shoreside home when we get to England. I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to find him a happy home on shore. I think it would be the kindest thing to do. He's also vomited a couple of times, and so it's a little bit difficult for him to get over the seasickness. It may be kind to the cat and kind to the crew if he goes and joins Grandmother Haley or Grandmother Pa or somebody.
Anybody, please.
Anybody, please. Beautiful cat needs a home. All offers accepted. All offers most welcome, not necessarily accepted. By the time this gets on the vlog on the internet, I dare say we'll have rehoused it. Okay. At least the sun is shining for the moment. It's been a little bit chilly, English Channel weather, I'm sure. Speak to you tomorrow. See ya.
What else did you want to say, Captain Bob?
Day 4 continued. Day 4, Catastrophes. I've just opened my sunglasses case, my Maui Jims sunglasses. 240 American dollars these cost. And I discovered that my little Maui Jims, damn them, are broken. So I'm going to speak to Mr. Maui and to Mr. Jim, I can tell you, because that's not good enough. These are only a couple of months old. It's not good enough. Do I look mostly like a pirate now? I don't think so. See ya.